Hello, how are you? Oh, it seems good to me. But lately there have been difficulties with Camilla, so I'm slowly getting back to normal. What happened? Our relationship had a rocky start right from the beginning. During the first week of us dating, she informed me that her close friend Tom was visiting, and she preferred not to have me call or visit, as she wanted to spend time alone with someone she could connect with. Initially, I dismissed my concerns, telling myself that since Tom was just a friend, it was not a big deal. Over time, I found myself interacting with Tom more frequently, and it was during these conversations that I learned about Camilla's past romantic involvement with him. This discovery left me feeling uneasy, and my mind raced with questions about the nature of their current relationship. As I delved deeper into Camilla's past, I discovered that her romantic history with Tom was more complex than I had imagined. According to Camilla, they had been in love with each other before she met her first boyfriend, but the timeline of their relationship was vague and seemed to change depending on her mood. On one occasion, she told me that she had been dating her first boyfriend since her freshman year of high school and continued seeing him until her sophomore year of college. But on another occasion, she claimed that their relationship ended during her first year of college. I couldn't help but feel suspicious of these inconsistencies in Camilla's story. It was as if she was purposely hiding something from me, and the more I tried to understand her past, the more elusive the truth became. Despite my reservations, I tried to remain open-minded and maintain my relationship with Camilla, but it wasn't easy. I noticed that whenever Tom was around, their conversations were often shrouded in mystery, and Camilla's stories about their past together were inconsistent and confusing. It was clear to me that Camilla had a lot of male friends who she enjoyed spending time with. While I wasn't a jealous person by nature, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of discomfort as I watched her flirt with them. Still, I trusted her completely and tried to convince myself that it was all harmless. However, as time went on, Camilla's behavior became more and more concerning. She started to openly discuss her intimate exploits with her male friends, sharing intimate details of her encounters with them. It was as if she was deliberately trying to make me feel uncomfortable and jealous. I tried to talk to her about it, but she dismissed my concerns, telling me that it was just a bit of harmless fun, and that I was being too uptight. Oh, when a girl has a lot of friends, and especially guys, it's not so bad. The main thing is to set certain boundaries in communication. Looking back, there were a lot of things that bothered me during the first 2 years of my relationship with Camilla. One of the biggest issues was her tendency to prioritize her male friends over me. It wasn't just that she had a lot of guy friends. It was that she would often get so caught up in their conversations that she would forget about me entirely. I remember countless times when we would go out together, and Camilla would suddenly strike up a conversation with a complete stranger, leaving me standing awkwardly on the sidelines. And even when we were with her male friends that I knew, I often felt like I was on the outside looking in. One person who particularly bothered me was Tom. Whenever he was around, Camilla's attention was completely focused on him. She would sit so close to him that it made me uncomfortable, and she was always interrupting me to listen to what he had to say. It was as if I didn't exist when Tom was around. I tried to tell myself that it was just my imagination. As time went on, Camilla's behavior began to wear on the relationship even more. One time, she told me she was going to a concert with her female friends, but when I saw pictures on social media later, I noticed she was there with a group of guys. Another time, she went on a trip with her female friends, but again, social media showed that she was with a group of guys instead. It seemed that Camilla was always finding ways to push boundaries and make me feel left out. It was frustrating because I had tried to be understanding and trusting of her, but it felt like she was taking advantage of that. Despite all of this, I still held out hope that things could work out between us. I didn't want to give up on our relationship. Maybe she was just afraid of your reaction to it, so she lied. Maybe. I don't know. So, what happened next? As you may recall, we had a period of unemployment, which made it challenging to find work, and resulted in me falling behind on my child support payments. While I was in this situation, Camilla was doing an internship, and I made an effort to keep in contact with her. Unfortunately, I found it disheartening that whenever I called her, she seemed uninterested in speaking with me, and often talked to her friends while we were on the phone. I remember a time when I had to appear in court for being late on my child support payments. I was on the brink of going to jail, but I managed to make a deal with my daughter's mother. I had just landed a new job and pleaded with her to give me a 2-week grace period to raise over $2,000. The situation was extremely stressful, and I had to borrow money to make ends meet. Feeling overwhelmed, I reached out to Camilla for support and comfort. Unfortunately, she didn't show any interest, concern, or sympathy, leaving me to deal with the situation alone. A few weeks after the incident, Camilla planned to visit an amusement park with her coworkers from her internship. When I asked her if I could join, she refused and told me that it was a company trip and that partners weren't invited. However, I later found out that other coworkers had brought their significant others, which left me feeling hurt and left out. Later, Camilla went to Tom's Christmas party, and I couldn't attend because of a family obligation. When she came back, she confessed to me that Tom had been flirting with her all night. I was shocked and hurt by this revelation, but I tried to keep my cool and not let it show. It was clear that our relationship had become strained and distant, and I was unsure how to fix it. It's already annoying. Yeah. But as we settled into our new place in life, things were looking up for us. I received a small inheritance that gave us some financial stability, and I was able to find a job in Camilla's area, which made things easier for us. Finally, after nearly 2.5 years of silently enduring her flirtatious behavior, I mustered the courage to tell her how much it bothered me. To my surprise, she listened, and we had a productive conversation about the issue. From there, things started to improve between us. We even found a new group of friends, which included Camilla's cousin Luna. Luna quickly became a close friend to both of us, and we all began to spend a lot of time together. It felt like we had finally found our place in the world, and that we were building a life together that we could both be proud of. However, there was one area that was lacking: our intimacy. It had slowed down to a complete stop, and Camilla showed little interest in intimacy. We tried to work on it, but things didn't seem to improve. Meanwhile, our group of friends fell apart for various reasons. Despite this, Camilla and I got engaged and eventually tied the knot. During this period, Luna discovers that her husband has been unfaithful and is going through a divorce. As expected, she turns to Camilla for support, given their close relationship as family and friends. However, things take a strange turn when Luna begins to indulge in her midlife crisis, frequently hitting the bars and chasing after men. She requests that Camilla accompany her almost every other night as her assistant. During this period of time, I was working a lot and didn't really pay much attention to what Camilla and Luna were up to. But one day, Camilla happily boasted to me about how a bouncer at one of the bars they frequent had met her, and how the bartender had helped him. She even told me that the bartender had said to her, "Well, you must be looking for something here." I couldn't believe what I was hearing, especially since I had gone to that bar with them before. Camilla seemed to be awfully friendly with a bartender named Ben. I remember on her birthday, she jumped on him and gave him an incredibly tight hug, which made me feel uncomfortable. Later on, Camilla changed her story about the incident with Ben and claimed that he had hugged her. But that night she was so drunk that she fell face down before even reaching the bar. To make matters worse, Someone who knew my wife and hosted parties that she often attended showed up at my workplace and asked if I knew Camilla and her boyfriend Ben. To add to my growing suspicions, there were rumors circulating in the bar that Ben was not very wealthy, but he was good at other things. And then Camilla later confided in me about her own experiences, saying how frustrating it can be to be intimate with someone who isn't very gifted, and even recounted a story about a guy who was small but good at other things. All of these stories and rumors compounded my doubts and insecurities. I think at this point you need to think a lot. This is already a wake-up call. I still think it was some kind of mistake, a coincidence. But then, there was another interesting period that lasted 2 months, when Camilla and I literally didn't contact each other. We had struggled with physical intimacy for years, but the absence of any interaction was particularly troubling. To add to my worries, Camilla confided in me that she had missed her period for a month, which made her anxious about the possibility of being pregnant. I was surprised by this news, as I had thought that we were the only ones involved with each other. When I mentioned this to her, she became extremely angry and defensive, which only heightened my suspicions. Oh my God! And how did it all end? Over time, Camilla and I had many conversations and were able to work through our issues. Despite her reassurances, we decided to seek the help of a family therapist to work through our problems. We made a commitment to regular therapy sessions, and I began to see positive changes in our relationship as we worked to rebuild trust and improve our communication. Oh, I don't really agree with your decision, but I support you anyway. 4 years later. Hey, how are you doing? Hello. Well, my wife cheated on me and I left her. What? You seem to be starting to get better. Oh, we haven't talked in such a long time. What happened? During this time, many things happened in my life that led to a difficult period. I lost my job and had to rely on unemployment benefits. But eventually they were canceled, and I found myself in debt. Additionally, I was accused of endangering someone at work and had to go to court, which resulted in probation. These events caused me to spiral into depression and anxiety, leaving me feeling completely paralyzed. I had no desire to leave the house, and my mood was irritable and unmotivated. The pandemic only added to the stress of the situation. Meanwhile, Camilla, who is an extroverted person, struggled with being cooped up during lockdowns while starting a new career. Prior to the pandemic escalating, Camilla traveled to Florida for an internship. During her stay, she went to a Caribbean club one evening and encountered a patron who was persistent in pursuing her. The situation became even more suspicious when the club's chef emerged from the back to compliment Camilla's appearance. It seemed unlikely that the chef, who should have been busy in the kitchen, would come out to interact with a stranger. On another occasion, Camilla called me while on her way back to her place when suddenly, an unfamiliar voice started shouting loudly on the phone. The noise was so loud that the man had to put his mouth on the phone to be heard. Later, Camilla called me back and claimed that the same guy who had been stalking her was the one who screamed into the phone. He had apparently been an Uber driver who offered her a ride when she left the Caribbean club in Florida. However, her story changed when she was sober, saying that she actually ran into him in person as she left the club. But when she spoke to me that evening, she claimed to have already left the club and was on her way home. In the months leading up to her departure, Camilla would often work late and use work events as an excuse to be out of the house. However, I noticed that she would easily leave early for social events with friends. I accompanied her on one such occasion to visit her friend at work, and at some point during the night, I observed her being intimate with one of her coworkers. I couldn't mistake what I had seen. It was definitely her and a guy. 3 days later, Camilla surprised me by saying, "You know I would be open to having a group affinity, but not with you. That would just be weird. I knew what was going on, but I didn't want to believe it. For some reason, I decided that there is nothing wrong with the fact that a person made a mistake once and succumbed to temptation. I decided to skip, forget about the situation, and move on with my life. Camilla started to take an interest in sports and began dedicating more time to her appearance. As a result, she started coming home later and later, often after I had already been asleep for several hours. There was one instance when we were on a break, and she attended a book club meeting at 5 o'clock. She came home just as I was getting ready to go to bed. I was constantly met with harsh criticism and reprimands whenever I tried to express my opinion on any topic. Camilla only seemed interested in talking about her fitness goals and work, and any attempt to steer the conversation in a different direction was met with resistance. This left me feeling increasingly upset and silenced, as though my thoughts and feelings didn't matter. So, what was the deciding factor in your leaving her? Once I finished my work early, and I thought it would be a great idea to surprise my wife with a romantic dinner at home. It had been a while since we had spent quality time together, and I sensed a change in our relationship. I wanted to take the initiative and save it, so I decided to plan the perfect surprise. I purchased her favorite lilies, arranged candles, and ordered food delivery from her favorite restaurant before making my way back home. As I walked up the steps to our front door, my heart was racing with anticipation. I couldn't wait to see the look on her face when she saw what I had planned. However, as soon as I arrived, I realized that my wife, Camilla, wasn't alone at home. My heart sank as I heard muffled voices coming from the living room. I assumed that maybe her friend had stopped by, so I quietly tiptoed towards the bedroom, hoping to surprise her. With a sudden burst of energy, I flung open the bedroom door and exclaimed, "Hey, love, I'm home!" But to my utter dismay, I was met with horrified expressions. Camilla was in bed with another man, riding him as if he were a horse. Camilla and the man both looked startled, and I could see the guilt written all over their faces. I was left dumbfounded, unable to comprehend what had happened or what I should do next. Camilla angrily threw a pillow my way before standing up and slamming the door shut. I was left standing there, alone, in complete shock. It was a scenario that I couldn't have even fathomed in my wildest nightmares. When I discovered what she had done, I was extremely upset and lashed out at her. Later, when she tried to talk to me, I snapped at her once again. She left in anger, returned the next morning, and went to work. That evening, we had a conversation, and she asked how long we had been truly happy. I admitted that I had been feeling unhappy since she started spending time with her cousin, and that I had been living with a constant sense of sadness and tension. I realized that there is no point in pretending anymore and building a happy family. When she left for work, I packed my things and left. Did you see each other after that? Yes, we saw each other once, a month later, when I stopped by our joint house for a short time and handed her a folder with documents, photographs, and a note that read, "Pack your things and move out of here." I brought her the divorce papers and all the evidence of her infidelity. Our mutual friends were very kind and shared with me everything that was on their phones related to Camilla. There were pictures of her dancing naked with another man, and a video from the club where she was kissing the same bartender, and other such things. She also admitted to a friend that she had engaged in group affinity with her cousin and a bouncer while out partying. All these facts I presented to her. She looked at all these documents in horror and began to cry. She began to ask me not to bring these documents to court. But I just told her, "Get out of this house," and slammed the door. It didn't bother me anymore. I heard how she ran after me after that and shouted something. But I sat down, started the car, and drove away from this house. Oh, it's so awful. Hold on, brother. After that, After I gave the divorce papers to Camilla, we had a trial that lasted for months. It was a painful and exhausting process, but I knew it was necessary to get closure and move on. Fortunately, my evidence was strong enough to sue her for the house we had bought together and force her to pay me a monthly compensation. While the trial was going on, I started to rebuild my life. I focused on being a good father to my child and building a new relationship. I was hesitant to start dating again after what had happened with Camilla, but fate had other plans. After the divorce, I met a very interesting woman who I immediately liked. I'm not sure if it's worth starting a relationship with her, since not much time has passed since the breakup, but I believe that the best is yet to come.